welcome to a very special bonus episode of Storytime at the Roo Bus. I'm your host, Charla.
And I'm Daniel. And hey guys, you're getting 2 big episodes in a week. First off, we want to make sure that you listen to our lineup episode. And by the way, thank you to those of you that already have. We put a heck of a lot of work into that one. We made sure that that one mostly features other Bonnaroovians from all over the place. And we got their reaction to the lineup. We had great interviews with Wanda and Pondo. So we want to make sure you listen to that. But this is kind of maybe a part 2, right, Charlotte?
Right, a part 2. We've got 2 very special guests on this episode tonight.
Yeah, we've got Cory and Brad from C3, and if you've listened to the What podcast already, it's the same guys. It's 2 of the guys that are really instrumental in putting together the greatest party on the planet, as I keep calling it.
Right, exactly. They give us an inside baseball look at Bonnaroo.
Yeah, so we talked with them for well over an hour about a lot of different things. We talked about more of the campground experience, because that's our side of things. We talked a little bit about this lineup. We talked about advice for young people. And also, if you know me, I couldn't not ask one certain question about a certain band. We'll get to that towards the end, yeah. But also, we want to encourage you to listen to the What podcast as well. They interviewed them. We made sure that we didn't cover the same ground. Maybe there's like 1 minute that repeats a little bit, but the rest of it is new stuff that they didn't really talk about there. So shout out to Barry and Taco for their great interview as well. We don't want to steal their thunder.
Right, exactly.
Charlotte, what do you think we jump into it?
All right.
All right, Cory and Brad, I want to thank you guys so much, not just for being here, but for throwing this amazing party for us. I keep saying this, and it's honestly and genuinely true. Like, I truly believe that Bonnaroo is the greatest party on the planet. Like, I'm not exaggerating or trying to blow smoke. And
I agree.
A lot of this is because of what you guys are doing behind the scenes, making sure that it feels seamless for us on the other side. And honestly, the past couple of years is because you have made it kind of a collaborative experience. So like you spoiled us to death working with us on all the crazy things that we want to do, but you supported like the beer exchange and worked with the parachute people. So I just think it's safe to say on behalf of the community, it is so appreciated. We really appreciate all the work that you guys are doing for us, and especially supporting all the crazy stuff that we all want to do in the campgrounds.
We talked about this yesterday with Barry, like everything that you're talking about is part of the organic spice that is the flavor of Bonnaroo that makes it so important and unique and special. So it would be a really dumb, not only a dumb personal, but work decision for us to decide that we were just going to ignore all the cool people and cool things that are going on out in the campgrounds and people who are kind of flagpoles in this community. It would not behoove us to not pay attention to those things and figure out how we can support and amplify whatever's already going on organically, just as part of the 20 years that we've been building this thing.
Mm-hmm. Dude, that's what always blew me away when I first started going too. You'd be kind of like wandering around at night, like not really sure what the next move was, and then you just come up on somebody's campsite where you got a couple wooks just like jamming for like 30 minutes on the same song, just like having at it, and it was like the most fun part. So yeah, anytime someone's like actually comes to us and asks if they could actually do something like that, we're like, yeah, for sure.
There was a girl a couple of years ago, and I don't think she's gone through with this yet, but she had this idea for like basically having a prom somewhere out in the campground. She wanted everybody to wear like 80s suits and dresses and just show up, and they were going to have like slow dances and stuff. And you hear that and you're like, yeah, why not? That's great. We should totally do
that. Though.
Yeah.
It does sound hot. Yeah, it does sound hot. But everything sounds hot at Bonnaroo.
Like takes you back to the proms back in the olden days before there was air conditioning.
But hey, before we get too far, we're going to assume that anybody who's listened to this has also listened to the What podcast. So they got to hear a lot about your Bonnaroo story. But guys, just quickly introduce yourself. Tell us your name, but also tell us something really interesting or fun about yourself that has nothing to do with Bonnaroo.
I'll go first, Cory, if you want. We'll just go alphabetical order. It always makes it easy for me. I'm Brad Parker with C3. Worked on Bonnaroo since 2013, and I'm currently the festival director of Bonnaroo and a few other shows. And the the thing that comes to mind right now that's interesting about me, I guess, or that I'm super excited about, so it's top of mind, is next Friday I'm going to Japan for 2 weeks.
What? What's going
It's my
on?
number one bucket list. I'm just going with my girlfriend, and we're just gonna have a good time. Try to actually take a real vacation for the first time in like 10 years. So I'm pumped up about it.
Have you not been there before?
Never been.
Oh, dude, it's a trip. So we spent one night in Tokyo years ago because we had like a day layover. Just get ready, dude. Like you'll find that some things are similar to Roo. You're gonna have a good time.
Dude, I'm so pumped. We're there for 13 nights, so I'm ready to get crazy.
Oh, you're going to love it. It is absolutely amazing in all the best ways, but your mind is going to be blown. Absolutely.
I'm
Yeah.
ready. I'm ready for my mind to be blown. I'm ready for a lot of good food too.
Look, when you get there, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I see how they came up with Mario. All right,
Cory?
Cory, you're up.
My turn, yeah. I'm Cory Smith. I started working for AC Entertainment back in 2013. Did mostly marketing for concerts for a few years, and then started stepping my foot into the festival world. And now I'm with C3. I handle all the marketing for Bonnaroo, and a few other festivals. And then, dude, I think the most interesting thing about me right now is that I'm currently the front man of a moderately successful 90s country cover band.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Well,
All
it
right.
was an accident, dude. I don't even know how that happened, but
So
All right.
it's been pretty wild.
So wait, plug your band. What do you play?
So we've got this thing called Boo Scootin' Boogie Nights, and it's a 90s country show. And I don't know, we me and a couple of my buddies. I've been playing music for years, mostly in like jam bands and like super like techie progressive rock stuff. And then me and a few of my buddies thought it'd be fun to just put together a 90s country cover band and play the bars around town, because we all grew up on it. And then our second show we did at the Yeehaw here in Knoxville, and like I think it's like 750 tickets. So we're just kind of, we're like, oh, this is something people are interested in. So
What's like the most fun 90s country song to play for you?
Ooh.
oh, there's I really like doing we've got this girl, Haley the Bell, that sings with us, and we do a mean From This Moment On duet.
Oh,
Yeah. It's
wow.
good.
That's a deep cut. I wouldn't have. I was thinking like me and you were joking about Colin Baton Rouge or something like that. I was
Well,
thinking.
Calling Baton Rouge is fun, right? I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that I mean, like, Brand New Man, like some of those old Brooks and Dunn songs. Like, there's so many, but that one is impossible to pull off. So it always feels like you always like kind of impress yourself when you get through it and it sounds really good. And I just think we nail it.
I got to
Cory's got so many layers. That's why I love Cory so much. He's just got so many layers. He's playing jam bands. He's doing marketing for Bonnaroo. He's putting on his Wranglers and playing country hits. Like
Never
there's
know, man.
Yeah.
there's a lot to unpack there.
Well, look, he's like one of these guys that played baseball and now they're one of the announcers in the booth. He's been on all sides of it.
Yes, exactly.
Renaissance man.
The
I like to
announcing is
think
way
it's-
more fun, though, I think.
I like
Right.
to think Bonnaroo was like an open world video game. Like Cory would be like the default character that you start the game as.
Yeah.
He's like the guy that you run into in Skyrim that took an arrow to the knee.
Mhm.
Oh, that's
right.
good.
Another intro question. This will help people get. This one is a Bonnaroo question. You guys have been working it a long time. You've seen everything. What is the weirdest or wildest thing that you've personally seen in your time there?
Ooh, I don't know if it's okay to say some of these things. I need to think of something that's like safe for work.
We can do a hard PG-13.
The funny thing would be when you edit this to just as soon as I start talking, just bleep the entire like 60 seconds out of what I'm saying. Can we? I think I have an answer, but I want to think about it. Can we like think about it and revisit?
Okay,
this
I'll tell you what.
at the end?
Let's return to that at the end so that'll
Okay.
give you time to think about it while the other guy's talking. But I do want to hear the answer to that. All right. With that said, I do want to get into stuff about this year and a little bit of the lineup and inside baseball stuff. But, for us, we're more focused on like the user experience and campground side of things. So that's going to be a lot of what we talk about. But do you guys want to rip the Band-Aid off and talk about the lineup and a little bit of the business side of things first? All right. So you talked about a lot of this already with the What podcast the other day, but we had a couple other things we want to talk about. So I'm really excited about Pretty Lights and Fred again this year. I feel like it's a little bit of a different move for you guys, but one that still makes sense for Roo. And it's kind of something that gives us opportunities to see things that we haven't before. I think everybody knows you just expected the unexpected with Pretty Lights on Thursday. Like, you guys know what happened at the caverns. Literally, the sky is the limit, not to hint around it too much. But I want to talk about Fred again. That is a really unique booking. And you guys in the Owl talked about how it is a North America exclusive. So, like Fred again, he is probably most known for like the Boiler Room set or the show at a certain unnamed festival in Southern California last year. And the thing that those shows had in common is he had an in the round set, right? So it was like at a stage that was kind of in the center of everything. Is it unrealistic to expect something like that on Sunday night?
I would say I just want to be careful how I answer questions here. But here's my default answer is when you talk to an artist like Fred and convince them to do something like let us be the only US festival that they're going to play in 2024. They want to bring any and everything to the table, and our job is to say yes to as much of it as possible. So that's what I will say about what will happen Sunday night. I think it's going to be a truly extraordinary and transformative set for Bonnaroo and for Bonnaroo fans. And I think that a lot of the people who might be a little bit of haters at the moment, I think that if they trust us and show up, I think they'll walk away happy and probably a fan.
Okay. That is a great way to answer that question, Brad. I didn't mean to hold your feet to the fire too much with that.
No.
But as you guys were putting this together, what were some of the things that you had in mind that made you think, yes, this is the play to put Fred as a headliner on Sunday?
Yeah. I think something I wanted to mention too is like I think sometimes when people look at the lineup and there's artists that have been talked about a lot over the past year, like Tame Impala, Miley Cyrus, etc. And I think sometimes when people, look at the lineup and those names aren't on there, they kind of wonder if we're listening. And we absolutely are, if there's acts like that that are a priority for our fans, there's a conversation going on and they're going to play. And there's every year there's dozens of conversations that go on with multiple artists about headliners, and there's some that you go after really hard, and there's some that you decide maybe it's better for next year, or some maybe it's better 3 years down the road. But Fred is one of them that there's a vision for that show on Sunday, and it's very intentional, and it's going to be an epic, legendary Bonnaroo moment. And so, yeah, I think that's like my vibe on that.
And I just want to add something to that too, that I think is, sometimes I really feel like there are right moments where, this sort of inside baseball stuff really helps fans understand what it takes to make something like Bonnaroo happen. There, there's this insinuation that I feel whenever I read some comments that like if we want an artist, we ask them and we get them, right? It's a very complex and complicated process. The
We've
artist
been joking with people that it's not like you're just going to the store and be like, yes, I'll take one Gaga,
I'll have one Rolling Stone on Sunday,
Yeah.
please, and I'll have it's like artists have to be available on June 12th of 2024, somewhere in and around Manchester, Tennessee, right? It's already a very specific ask. They have to be touring, and most likely they have to be touring on new music, because artists that are going to get a big festival look, they don't want to go out and play stuff that they released 2 or 3 years ago, right? They want to wait for the moment where they're going to come out with a new show that they're going to blow fans' minds away with. So they have to be wanting to tour. They have to be available at the time. There's obvious negotiations about what we're paying them and things like that. But 2024, as you've probably read in with Festival and other outlets that cover the festival industry, is a very tough year for festivals because a lot of headlining artists are not touring. They came out of the pandemic, they worked their asses off, and they're like, I need a breather, right?
Yeah.
I need a breath. So in a year where we already knew that the pool of headliners was going to be extremely limited, and where we knew there were a lot more festivals in the market post-pandemic that existed that are potentially competition, we had it top of mind that we've got to do something that's going to make us stick out from the competition, right? We can't share the same 3 headliners as every other show in America and just flip the days that they're playing on.
Yeah.
Like, that is something we always get complaints about, right? And so it's long, it's hard work, it's not easy. It's Brian Benson, who books this show, puts every ounce of blood and sweat that he has into it, and he sits and reads these comments, and I know it just hurts him sometimes because he's like, man, I want to give you, I've got the perfect lineup in my head, but it doesn't mean I can get everybody to say yes. So I don't know. I just think that kind of context is important for any fans that might listen. Like Cory said, the amount of times I hear Tame Impala walking around our office or on comments or people messaging me, it's like, dude, we get it. We want Tame Impala to play Bonnaroo as
I
well.
see you got my letters. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Well, we may return to that later, but yeah, thanks for that insight on the lineup. I'll leave most of that stuff to the What podcast, but I did have a couple of questions along those lines for you about kind of like the brand itself. So clearly we love it to death. It's taken up a big part of our lives because it changed our lives. And one thing that we love about Roo is I can't think of another festival besides like, maybe Burning Man that has such like a culture and a community. And, Cory, I've seen that you put a blurb on the front page at bonnaroo.com. So this is kind of for you. How do you work on communicating like the tradition and the history of the festival? Stuff like the New Orleans connection, the name coming from Dr. John, stuff like that.
That's really challenging, actually. This is actually getting pretty inside baseball, but all of our data shows us that people spend less and less time on a given website or web page than they used to. So kind of the like long form like blog stuff that you used to see, music festivals or artists or whoever coming out with, that stuff just doesn't really get read anymore. So it's kind of gotten to a place where we can be more creative about it, and try to pour it into the visual side of the brand, and put little blurbs here and there, do stuff on site. And one thing we're leaning into is video. Last year we put out that How to Roo video. I think was super well received. And that's a part of a series that we're going to be working on, because it's just so much easier to get someone to watch a 3-minute video than it is to get them to read a 6-paragraph tutorial. And yeah, it's also really hard to tie in some of the historical stuff, like the New Orleans connection and stuff like that. And sometimes the best we can do for it is a little blurb here and there, and then word of mouth, and look into different ways to weave it in and out on site. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting balance.
I'll tell you, one of my favorite things that you guys did was way back in 2016, because that was an anniversary year. And like a lot of the relics from Bonnaroo's past were strewn all over the place, and they had little plaques in front of them. It was almost, you turned the whole grounds into a little bit of a museum. That was one of the reasons that was pretty much my favorite year, Tame Impala notwithstanding.
Yeah, I think most of those relics are in pretty bad shape at this point.
Oh yeah, Mr. T has definitely seen his better days.
He's not doing so good.
Oh,
Here's a little just piece of Bonnaroo trivia for you. for those that have been around, you'll probably know exactly where I'm referencing. So at the Starbucks, next to the Starbucks, there was for a long time there was a train museum there, very random, like a little building there. And last year, yeah, the beginning of 2023, that building went up for sale, and we were gonna try and buy it because our idea was to put basically a little Bonnaroo merch slash museum in it and just have it there for like throughout the year. Ultimately, I think like a gas station bought it, and we couldn't compete with the
Oh,
or like Chick-fil-A or something, and we couldn't compete
hey,
with it. But
dude. If you ever
um,
got something small, give it to us. The inside of a bus is basically a museum for
Really
Bonnaroo.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we were going to try and take all that stuff you're talking about and like try to put it all in one place. So when people happen to be traveling throughout the year, they could just hop off the exit and check it out. But didn't work out, unfortunately. But thought I would just share that little nugget.
That's a really good idea. In
Right.
fact, we should talk later when we're not
That would have
recording.
been so cool.
All right. Along those lines, I'm going to talk just one more question about the brand itself because it means so much to so many of us. So something that came to mind to me when I was prepping all this is, it was like what 2 years ago now. We almost went to a Bonnaroo in September because we had to because of the
Yeah.
pandemic and everything. And if it wasn't for the hurricane, we would have done it. A lot of people were more than happy to do it. Have there ever been any discussions about doing something like at other times of the year with the brand, or maybe even something away from the farm like they did at the amphitheater that time?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, there
Um,
have nothing's come to fruition, but it's been talked about.
the I guess there's a couple answers to your question. There's definitely been conversations around ways to just engage the brand through like other times throughout the year, not just on the farm for 4 to 6 days in June. Um, the second answer to that question is that um, June works for a lot of reasons. One, it's a time that typically younger age kids, college age people can take the time to actually commit, right? Because
yeah.
it's a large commitment, as you all know. Um, for the most part, although it's hot, it's pretty safe weather season. Um, when it comes to threats of tornadoes or torrential downpours and things like that, it's a pretty mild part of the weather season for
Well, as we
Tennessee.
know now, September may not be the best time.
Yeah,
Yes, 100%.
and um, there's just a lot of reasons when it comes to time of the year, when it comes to what other festivals are happening around that time. And it's just, it really was a perfect storm. And then I think after 20 years of programming that in people's minds of when Bonnaroo is, it's really a reason to even think about moving it. Like, unless we really think it's going to benefit us, like, it's probably more of a risk at this point than it is. Um, gonna give us any sort of gain? So that's a great question, though. People don't ask that a lot.
Well,
Um,
we went to one of those events where it was one of those concerts at the farm deals. We went to go see the Avett Brothers, and it seemed
Mhm.
like it was really well attended, and it seemed like the farm could be modified for things at other parts of the year. And I know you guys got like a million irons in the fire, but we were always curious if that concept was ever going to be returned to, or maybe there was going to be like another Exit 111 type deal.
it's a really challenging. It's a really challenging site to operate. It's really expensive to open the doors, quote unquote. Um, the concerts on the farm was really something that was just at that time. We were one of the only options within you know, the Live Nation sphere of like, let's try and do something for fans, right? There's nothing going on. And we own the property and all of that. So it was like we had a little bit less risk and there's no shows going on, but the demand is there. So let's try and make it happen. Those shows obviously were they were great for the fan. They were not great for us. We had to buy a lot of bike rack. We had to pay for we had to pay for staff to stay vaccinated and testing and all of that stuff. So it was really hard from a financial standpoint to make it successful. Um, and Exit 111 was, people still, I mean, that Facebook group is still active. I go in there and look
Wow.
at it. it's crazy. Those people once a week somebody posts in there, oh, I heard it's coming back. And it was a great experience. It was a little cold, but I don't know if you all actually went to that one or not. But
And we missed that one. The lineup was great, but it wasn't specifically our like kind of tea. But that was why it appeared cool to me. Like it could turn the farm into a little bit like Suwannee down in Florida, where you can have like multiple things there, like sometimes different genres, you know. So I love the concept.
yeah, you gotta sell a lot of tickets to make it worth using that property just because of the lack of, outside of the resources we've built and provided ourselves. It's just a challenging place to do it, with
Hmm.
anything we do out there that would be more than 10,000 people involves a lot of buy-in from Tennessee Highway Patrol and
Yeah.
all of these state resources. And the expenses just pile up really fast.
Okay. Well, I was curious, and what you said kind of fell in line with what we were kind of guessing. But yeah, thanks for playing ball with us. So these next couple of things is kind of going along with what we're trying to do with the new Totem Foundation that we've started this past year. You've probably heard about it. We're really focusing on trying to get the next generation of Ruvians up and going. And one thing that we want to do is really coach them for success, not just, having a good time at Roo, but like in their lives, in their careers. So I got a couple of questions for you about that.
Yeah.
First of all, we get this a lot because people see that we're involved, they want to get involved too. So I got a good day job. I don't necessarily want to work in the industry with you guys. I got all the respect in the world for you, but I talk to a lot of kids who do want to work in the music industry. So let's say, how can someone, turn being involved at Bonnaroo into a career behind the scenes working with you guys? Like specifically, what impresses you the most, and what kind of thing would make you want to hire somebody?
Yeah, yeah, this is a fun one. We talked about this a little bit with Barry and Russ the other day, but I think for me it's always like what have you accomplished on your own? Music's a very easy space to be entrepreneurial. Like all you got to do to book a band is call a bunch of venues until someone says yes. Um, all you got to do to throw your own festival is, as long as it's not too big, find a space where someone says yes, where the noise isn't going to bother too many people and you're good. So there's the barrier to entry is fairly low, and the investment up front is mostly just time. So it's pretty easy to get your feet wet without having to convince someone that you know what you're doing. And then once center in on a company or a project or festival or maybe a band you want to manage or something, and you can come to them and say, hey, I've been, managing these guys that I went to college with for 3 years now, and I got them into this venue and that venue, and I helped them with this release that sold this many copies, etc. You already got your foot in the door, and you didn't even have to, like work your way up the ladder per se. So that's always my advice, and that was kind of the route that I took to like get my feet wet and get experience. Was just kind of like playing in bands, booking bands, helping people put on shows, etc. I did a little bit of like publicity for bands in college, stuff like that.
I
Brad,
think
same
the
question. Like, what would really, like, if you saw somebody doing something really cool on the farm and you were like, hey, we need to get them at our offices, what kind of thing would that be?
I mean, there are people in I'm in Nashville. I don't know if you all knew that. Cory's in Knoxville. I'm in Nashville. I work out of the Live Nation office that's in Nashville here. They've got a pretty large office here. There's three, four, five, there's five people that work in the Live Nation office now because they went through my Bonnaroo U program and simply followed up with me afterwards and said, hey, I had a really great experience. Here's what I'm working on. I would love to stay in touch. Can we get a coffee? Got a coffee with them. And then, now they don't work on our team, but they're in the business. They're right down the hall. They're getting their foot in the door. And I think that the things that I look for are primarily based around, the industry we work in is really built on soft skills. I can teach you how to build ticket scaling for a festival. I can teach you how to, advance a stage or an artist, but I can't teach you how to have a conversation and cultivate relationships and keep your cool whenever things are really melting down around you. And when people kind of show that they have that, then that's something that can be molded, right? It's like a little ball of Play-Doh. It's like, oh, this is great. I can take this and make it into something really cool. So I really look for people who make it an effort to show their interpersonal skills and exercise empathy and different things like that, because our whole industry is built on egos and how to dance around them and deal with them. And if you can do that, then that's great. I'd rather 10 out of 10, I'd rather have someone that can do that and knows nothing about no technical skills in the industry rather than someone who's advanced 11 arena tours and has a shit attitude. Like that's just personally how I kind of look at it. So
I think the attitude thing there is key. I don't know if you guys know this about me, but like over a decade ago, I managed a band and it was fun. I loved hanging out with them and going with them to gigs. But man, the egos and the politics of it were a bit much sometimes. And I think that was the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make this a side hustle and a hobby, not my main thing.
Yeah.
It
yeah,
can,
bless you on even wanting to try to be in the management world. That's a tough one.
oh, I can tell you some stories. But anyway, okay. So my other question for you, that's kind of like advice for young people, is on the other side of things, like people who actually want to play the music instead of doing the business side of it. So say there's somebody in their room making EDM on their computer, or maybe they're in a garage with a band, like our friend Wanda, hint hint, or maybe they're in a country cover band, like somebody we know. What gets them noticed? Like what gets them booked for the Who stage to start them out? Like how can they get around the egos and politics that we were talking about to play inside Bonnaroo?
Well, I want to tee up Cory for an answer here. I think there's two answers for me. The first answer is a little bit of a real answer to the question, is that you have to get to a certain point to where there's other people in the circle that are vouching for you to where you're getting in front of opportunities like playing at a Bonnaroo or an ACL or a Lollapalooza, right? Um, Unfortunately, it's not always where the art speaks for itself to a certain extent. But what I will say, and this is where I hope Cory can hit a little softball here. Um, Artists now more than ever have the most free marketing mechanisms at their exposure than have ever existed in history, with things like TikTok and Instagram Reels and all of that. And if you're willing to play the game, you will be rewarded. That's truly what I believe. Whenever I talk to independent artists here, I have a lot of friends who are independent artists, and the ones who are willing to sit down and make the content and put it out there over and over again, I see them reap the reward. And the ones who are like, I don't need that, I'm just going to go keep playing rounds and eventually something's going to happen. It's like, that's great, but that's not how the industry works anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not the stories anymore of where some guy from Columbia Records, walks into a smoky bar on a Sunday and finds the next Luke Combs. It's like, that's not how it happens anymore. Like, you got to put in the work. There's too much competition.
Yeah, I mean, I might take this in a little different direction than you thought I was going to, but I was just going to say it's really, really hard.
Yeah.
Like when I was probably my first like 3 or 4 years at AC, I would work the week and then me and the boys would get in a 1991 Dodge van in the parking garage behind the office on Friday, and we'd drive, play a gig, drive somewhere else the next night, play another gig, and then come back and get back to Knoxville at like 4 a.m. on Sunday. And we did that for, yeah, we did that for like a year and a half, 2 years, pretty much every other weekend. And we got to the point where, if we'd go to Nashville, yeah, maybe 40 people would come. If we went to Athens, we had about 25 people that would come out to those shows. And that was the progress that we made in a year and a half, being there 2 or 3 times. And most of the bands that I see get successful, you know, by the time they are at Bonnaroo, they're in their 30s. And there's exceptions, obviously. You know, if you are good at social media and you write a hit, you know, I remember like I mean, Noah Kahan wasn't a nobody, right? But Stick Season hits TikTok, and now he's headlining all the festivals. So if you get a good song that's really catchy and resonates with people, and you use the internet well, you can definitely propel yourself. But I think the most tried and true way is to stay on your grind, commit your life to it, know that that's what you want, and you know, keep fighting until you get it. Um, you know, make it to where, I mean, the best way to, you know, play Bonnaroo is to make Bonnaroo come to you, you know?
Yeah. So I'm
It's
hearing
hard.
two
You got to do
answers.
all of that.
Yeah. I'm hearing
It's
two
hard,
answers.
man.
Either be in Bonnaroo you or go be a roadie with Cory.
I'll have a little bit more air condition involved in my situation, just
Yeah.
for anyone that might be trying to decide which way they're going to go.
All right,
I mean,
guys.
I will say I'm not getting in the van on the weekends anymore.
Bro, get into the bus when there's no AC going. I'll show you something. Yeah.
Oh, I've been in there with no AC.
It turns into an easy bake oven, dude.
Yeah.
All right, so for these next ones, we're gonna kind of talk. We're gonna go out back to Outeroo, as it's called these days. I
Mhm.
love that, by the way, and talk more about like kind of like the campgrounds and user experience. You want to kick us off, Charlotte?
Okay, so as Daniel said previously, we do focus more on like the user experience of things. So talking about the pods and the plazas. So what do you think are really working with the plazas nowadays? And where do you see the next generation of the plazas really going for this year?
Brad, you want to take that one? Maybe
Yeah,
on the logistical side a little more?
yeah, I'll take that. I mean, first and foremost, the the base of the changes you've seen in the campgrounds, let's say from 2018 to now, that was the basis of all that change was that we knew that we needed to try to elevate just at a baseline the experience of what it was just to live, just to try to live out there with, you know, trying to permanent bathrooms and building permanent structures for the barns and things along that side. And then, you know, we kind of went down a rabbit hole of okay, well, we have this data that shows us that at any given time, you know, 30% of our fans are not in Centeroo. They're still in the campgrounds. If it's 7 p.m., if it's midnight, if it's 3 p.m., like pretty much at any given time, we saw the data that said 30% are not in there watching a stage. Like they're out there doing something. So then the idea of, well, let's start giving them a little something to do if they decide they're going to stay out in the campgrounds, beefing up, you know, some food and bev operations. And then the idea of like the plazas having, you know, sort of, let's just call it themes to make it easy. Like Plaza 7 one year, you know, in 2019, we did the Ville where it was all Nashville focused things at Plaza 7. And then we had Haley Williams doing her things out at Plaza 2, and we have the House of Yes and all of these things.
By
And
the
so,
way, House of Yes, our absolute favorite. We love that so much. That's like something that's like so alongside the whole theme of Roo. Like you guys hit
yeah.
a grand slam getting them.
So you've probably noticed things come and go, right? As far as what's going on out in the campgrounds. And that's because as we've explored what is working and not working out there, we've really found that the shining stars of the whole thing are Where in the Woods and House of Yes. Like those are by far the fan favorites. So now you might start to see us not necessarily peel back on the programming we're doing, but focus our efforts where we're hearing people say this is what we're
Hmm.
really enjoying.
Okay.
Um, and then I would think sometimes people don't think of this as like a plaza, but when we think about the campgrounds, we think about what's going on at Where in the Woods, what's going on at House of Yes, and what's going on around group camping, because that's obviously a very important group of people for us. So, um, I think you'll start to see us kind of hone in now that we've thrown a lot of stuff against the wall and seen what sticks and what works. You'll start to see us put more effort into those things and maybe pull back a little bit on other areas where we've just seen things not be as successful as we thought they would.
Well, Brad, you hit the nail on the head with kind of what I was thinking about, like camp area stuff. Let's start with We're in the Woods. I feel like that's another area where you guys have really hit it out of the park the past couple of years. It feels like that whole area has become just as iconic as like the arch, the fountain, the wet stage. Like it has been a big magnet for a lot of people. Where do you think that goes next? How do you continue to evolve that?
I mean, I think we're limited on size there, obviously. But it's been really fun the last couple of years to, have a big underplay or two out there. Like letting someone like Zed's Dead take over and do something crazy. And so I think that honestly, the way that we've been looking at that is like another scenery stage, and just making sure that we're not overbooking it during the day when people aren't out there, and using those resources to put on big ass parties out there with big names and doing something super special. And then also using it as kind of a place for surprises. And it's also just like so immersive. Yeah, that's like that has almost become like a scenery stage in my mind, like as far as importance of how we treat it and everything.
And I just want to add one quick thought to that, Daniel,
Yeah.
before you go on. The other thing that I think is important for people to understand for us is that there's also a very fine line of balance here when we're talking about programming, because at the end of the day, Cinderoo is our bread and butter. We're spending a lot of money for bands that are playing in Cinderoo to be seen. And if we're creating too much competition, then we're almost doing a disservice to ourselves and some of the artists. So
Mhm.
the timing of when things are happening also, I think it was 2022 maybe that we kind of went, we had really big things going on at Where in the Woods and the other at the same time. And we kind of realized like, okay, well now we're competing with ourselves. Like we need to deconflict this a little bit so fans don't have to choose, they can enjoy like what
Yeah.
we're paying. Like the production at the other stage is like, it's not a cheap thing. It's a place where we've really invested a lot of money, right? So
By the
we
way, I
want
love
people
those
to look.
pillars, those
Yeah.
big screen pillars.
Pretty
Chef's kiss. I love those.
Yeah, it'd be like remodeling your house and then being like, "Hey, but have you seen this my other place down the road?" It's like, "No, we want you
Well,
to
I
look at
think
the spot that we put the money into."
I learned last year from working with Cory to put that cherub thing together that the schedule is instrumental in that. Like you don't want to put too many things conflicting. I know Ruvians complain when the schedule comes out, like, oh, why are you putting this band against this band? But there's like a method to the madness. But real quick, before we move to that kind of stuff later, I did have one request from the community when it came to Where in the Woods. You know how like when you roam around Cindery, those big mushroom things where there's like water spigots on the side of it. One is desperately needed at Where in the Woods. If we could
I
get that.
saw that on Twitter actually. I
Yeah,
saw
yeah.
someone comment that. Yeah, I put that on my notes. I mean, just go ahead and just let's consider that done.
Awesome. Thank you,
neat.
sir. Oh my God, thank you. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I think talking about the plazas and stuff, I think that's another like, last year we made some big changes, obviously, to how we did things out there. And, it went really well. And so this year it's more like taking out, making the fine notes of like, okay, this plaza needs more restrooms this year. Shower lines were long at this one. People really loved the coffee shop at the fun house. Like, let's do more of that. Like stuff like that. Just kind of trying to like see how we can just like fine tune it and make the experience even better now that it feels like we have like a lot of the like big boxes checked.
mhm. No, it totally makes sense. A couple other things about the campground experience, just as like a user experience kind of thing. So, Brad, you touched about the group area. First of all, thank you. We're spoiled to death over there. We can't thank the both of you enough for your help with all the crazy shit that we want to do. Um, but one thing that we've heard from a lot of group area people is, the old Wooks that have been there for a long time are still talking about like, oh, they moved it and everything. we can see as newbies like what you're trying to do with that, like move it to a different area where it's easy to get traffic in and out and kind of making it more of like a hub for a lot of different things. I wondered if you could just speak a little bit about like what your plans are with that group area.
Well, I'll let Cory speak to maybe some things that we might be working on, but I just want to talk a little bit about something you hinted at. A lot of decisions we make in the campground, people read into them a lot, but really a lot of those decisions just come down to what makes this the easiest on our staff from an operational standpoint. And we obviously allow a lot of liberties with the group camping, and the location was really dictated by this is just going to make this a lot easier in the grand scheme of everything else that's going on around it for us to service this group and make it not only give them what they need, but make it easiest on us without conflicting with other campgrounds or plazas or anything like that. Because I mean, dude, if you saw just what our traffic plan looks like, it would take you 3 weeks to read it if I sent it to you.
I
Like,
saw a peek at it one time and my brain broke.
oh, it's just crazy. But um, so group comes up, I think, in every conversation that I've ever had with Cory. I mean, it's top of mind when we talk about anything, whether it's pricing or programming or anything. It's like, okay, this is the not the exception to the rule, but it's always a group that we're thinking about in the back of our mind with every decision that we make around the festival. I don't know if you want to add to that, Cory, but
I think that's basically it. I mean, that a lot of the it feels like a lot of the tradition is like preserved and advocated from group campers, and a lot of the camaraderie and sort of like core values of Bonnaroo are best preserved there and then passed along to newcomers, etc.
Corey, you know this already, but we know this too. Like most of the group area is the people that you don't have to sell to. Like you don't have to like put any extra work into. They're already sold. They know they're going back every June, regardless of a lineup. They're the people that
Yeah.
go year after year after year because we know everybody. It's
Yep.
like going back to school and seeing everybody on the first day.
Yeah, I think that's why we've been able to put so much trust in y'all and some of the other big sort of long lasting groups out there, and literally just set up a small stage and gave you guys a PA and said go for it.
That was
So
so appreciated, by the way.
yeah, I mean it's awesome. I went out there, I heard of a bunch of people that stopped by, they're like, what's even going on over there? It's like, it doesn't matter.
Look, the rest of that weekend, the past 2 years, like there was a lot of like campground DJs that just noticed that there was a light on and an aux cord, and they just went for it, and nothing broke.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yep.
All right, one more question about this kind of stuff. This came from a lot of Ruvians that were asking about this. One thing that Bonnaroo has been tremendous about, and I have really bragged on you about, is your assistance about ADA stuff, people with disabilities. There's been that section right next to the arch or whatever for years and years and years. I know that's very important to you, but like, what have you talked about how to improve the shuttle system for people with ADA needs?
um, listen, it's something that we obviously care much about. It's an extremely challenging environment, not only for those fans that are coming, but for us to figure out what those things are and how those improvements work, right? I wish we had the luxury of being in an arena or a brick and mortar venue where a lot of these things are kind of part of the plan, right? But we were plopped in the middle of a field in Manchester. So as it's the transportation piece. We've got two guys, Austin and Clancy, that head up that program, and Austin himself um, uh, is in a wheelchair, and he's like a beast, man. I got so much respect for this guy, and it's really helpful to have someone like him in that position because he can directly relate and put himself in those shoes, right?
Mhm.
So it's a blessing to have somebody like him on our team. Um, we basically we trust our team to go out. We trust Austin and Clancy to go out and say, hey, we need to pave this road, or we need to excavate this part of this campground, or we need to do this and that, and then we do it. Like whatever they say, we do it because we don't want anything to stop someone from having an equivocal experience that any other fan on the farm can have, right? So, and that's easily said, and sometimes can be very challenging to make happen. But one of the things we recently did, which I don't know, it's probably something that was maybe only noticed by the people that it potentially impacted, but the VIP mound that's like stage right of the main stage, we actually excavated and carved a path all the way to the top of it.
Thought you were about to say you moved it. You were about to settle a long debate.
No, but we excavated and carved a flat path that's completely ADA accessible all the way to the top of that mound.
That's
So
amazing. I didn't know that.
yeah, it's things like that sometimes it's our idea, sometimes it's something that's brought to our attention and we decide that we can act on it, but it's always 100% top of mind for us because it's just super important, man, that there's nothing stopping someone from wanting to come to the farm and have a really magical weekend.
Awesome. Thank you, Brad. That's exactly why I brag on you guys. You like pay attention.
Exactly.
It's like Disney World. You pay attention to every detail when it comes to stuff like that. You want to take the next one, Charlie?
So we talked about rookies a little bit earlier, but let's say a rookie was to arrive on the farm and had no festival experience whatsoever. What would be something that you would do to make that rookie's experience as good as possible, as best as possible?
Yeah, no, this is another one that kind of aligns with what we're doing with Totem.
Someone needs to just take them on a walk, man. Honestly, someone needs to take them on a walk, show them the landmarks, show them how to use all of the wayfinding, and make sure that they can get from their place to Bonnaroo and back.
Yeah,
my first couple years, man, you come out of there at 1, 2, 4 in the morning, and I've spent hours looking for my campsite.
Well, y'all done that. Like the wayfinding helps a lot because like back in the day, you know this, Cory, like directions back to your camp would be like, turn left at the giant purple unicorn and then right
every time.
Yeah.
Dude, and it's still like that too.
It's like I'm by the University of Georgia flag next to something that says Han Solo on it. It's like I don't know. I saw 8 Han Solos just now. I have no idea what's going on. I think my advice, I mean, part of me says that is like part of the rite of passage, to be honest with you. Like everybody kind of goes through that the first year. I think that it's very important to have a friend. You don't have to come with a friend, but you got to find a friend.
Yeah. You
got to have someone that can be your guide to a certain extent and create some responsibility kind of between the two of you, and watch out for each other. Not in the sense of like there's people lurking around that are trying to do bad things to you, but like you got to have somebody else that has your back beside yourself when you're at a place like Bonnaroo. It's a long marathon, and people sometimes treat it like a sprint from the very beginning. And I think a lot of times those are the people that it's their first time. And so I guess my advice would be make sure you're drinking water and find a friend. Those are the two that I would start with.
And we decided to name everything super confusing. So
Yeah. I noticed on the poster, instead of saying what stage, you said Pretty Lights was playing the main stage, so there wouldn't be any confusion amongst the normies.
Absolutely.
I'm so glad that you just called that out. That's funny. That was an internal monologue that we had.
There's a couple other resources I wanted to point out too. We're actually working on a few more videos that we'll release over the course of this year that'll be helpful to share with rookies. We're also working on a new interface on the website. So we've got like the whole help center right now, which is like hundreds of articles, all the information you could ever use, but you got to kind of know what you're looking for. So, one of the goals for me over the next few weeks is to just make kind of a one sheet that links out to a lot of those that someone can pretty easily digest. And then once you get there, a lot of folks who have been going for a long time remember that we used to hand out a little guide when you came in. Basically, and it would have the schedules on it, it would have the map on it, and a few other odds and ends. Yep, there you go. And, those, it's really for a festival that puts so much effort into protecting the farm and diverting stuff from landfills. It's not great to print 100,000 of those, right?
And we understand it from that perspective.
Yep.
Like the app, now that there's been Wi-Fi on the farm,
Mhm.
it's a double-edged sword, because on one hand, you want to be in the alternative reality that is the farm. But on the other hand, the Wi-Fi lets you get to that app so you can get the stuff that used to be in that book.
But I will say, I don't know if you guys knew this, but last year we did print some of those.
Yeah.
We printed a much smaller amount of them, and it was kind of an if you know thing. But I think if you know someone who's going for the first time, I have every intention of printing some of those again. Send your friend who's going for the first time to the info booth to grab one of those.
Good
I think
advice.
it'd just be helpful. It's something physical they can have in their hands and help guide them. And then, we also have info booths spread around in Bonnaroo and Outeroo. And we have our Safe Fest team, which is in the bright yellow shirts. You can come up to them. They can help you with anything that you need at all.
Yeah, that's
So
really helpful. I noticed that too. And Brad, I want to thank you for what you mentioned in terms of finding a friend or an exit buddy, because that is exactly what we're trying to do with this mentorship program that we're setting up with Totem. So like, people who are the grizzled wooks can take in a rookie and tell them, do this, don't do this. I did that once and it was stupid, or I did that once and it was great, whatever it may be. So thanks. I think we're on the same line with that one.
Yeah.
Carly, you want to take this next one or me?
I'll take it. So talking about other events, is there any news or anything you can tell us about the new festival in Huntsville, Alabama, where we're from?
By the way, you got to give it some kind of space name.
Oh, that's so
we know. Yep, we know.
I mean, I don't know, Cory. Cory's more involved in that project now. I mean, I can. What I'll say is, that it's not it's not rare, but most of the time when we go into a city and want to do a festival, it's kind of like, oh, that's cool. Like, let us know how we can help. Like, that's kind of like the sentiment, right? Huntsville is like, we want a festival here. You all are the best people that can do it. Like, how can we be a great partner in helping facilitate that? So I'll just give a huge shout out to, the mayor and the administration there in Huntsville of really understanding and seeing the value and the impact and what something like a music festival can do for a city and an economy and a community. And I think that it's going to be something really, really special. And I know Cory's doing a lot of work on the marketing side for that thing. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give away too much because there's a couple things that need to kind of fall into place before we can start to share stuff. But we are full steam ahead on it. So yeah, I think sooner rather than later.
Nice.
I'll say.
Well, I can tell you guys, we've lived here for the better part of 16, 17 years now. And the movement that I've seen in this town to become a music city, like post-pandemic, is insane. If you had told me 3 years ago that I would have been able to see Fish for $20, 20 minutes from my house at the Orion,
Dude,
there's
the
no
Orion is
there. Yeah.
That place is so awesome.
it's one of the most beautiful venues I've ever been inside of. I mean, you walk in that thing and you think like, the first time I went in that venue, I was like, am I in LA? Like, where am I
Yeah.
at? What is going on? Like, this is a beautiful state of the art venue. I hope people there understand how like crazy cool it is to have that in your backyard.
There's parking. there's
Yeah,
places
yeah.
to park. We were
So-
in and out in like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
It was-
advice for you guys or anybody else. You can park up the road in front of like the Dave and Buster's or whatever for free. Nobody cares. And you're immediately gone. It's amazing. But yeah,
I will say we're super excited to get to Huntsville. That's a project that's really got me fired up right now. So
we're
I'm
so primed for it, man. This town is ready for something like that. We haven't had something like that in almost 20 years since Big Spring Jam.
yeah.
And people have missed it. This is such a good music town. We've got a lot of talent up and coming from here. Like, just give them a plug. Our friend Wanda, our friend Them Damn Dogs, many others. Good EDM scene. We're ready for this, dude.
Mhm.
All right. So, one of the last questions, Brad, I'm so sorry, but I couldn't have this without asking you this. So, a lot of these other questions came from Ruvians, but I'm using the privilege card for this one. Tame Impala is my favorite band. You already talked about this. You told me that you look at the Reddit. I know you see the surveys. I know you've heard it from Festival. Before I ask this, next year is going to be the 10-year anniversary of Currents. Like, this was a game changer album for so many people. It's basically like our generation's Dark Side of the Moon. A couple years ago, they played a 10-year anniversary show for another festival. They did Interspeaker. Now, I want to make it clear, I'm not specifically asking you if this is going to happen in 2025. I'm not asking you that. I'm not going to hold your feet to the fire with that. But what am asking, we had 2 times when Lucy pulled the football away from Charlie Brown in 20 and 21. And now we've got a golden opportunity coming up next year. Is it out of the realm of expectation? Is it too much for us to expect that the third time is the charm, or do we need to let it go?
I got the perfect answer for this, Cory.
I like that.
Here's my answer, Daniel, and I don't want this will not hold me to any expectations. I will just answer it by simply telling you that it would make a lot of sense.
Mm.
That's my only answer.
Look, dude, I was in the pit when you two played the Joshua Tree.
Oh, my favorite set I've ever seen at
That
Bono.
was transcendent. Like, seeing one of my favorite bands, like Bono, literally 20 feet away from me, doing the album that was kind of like my coming of age album. Amazing. I'm just saying, if my current favorite band played my favorite album of all time pretty much right in front of me, it'd be like last year. I don't think I could top it, dude. I can't top Hanging with Cherub. I don't know if I could top seeing Currents in full. So I won't ask you anymore. I think that was a good answer. So thank you for entertaining.
Absolutely. I knew it was coming. So
You knew it. You knew
I
it.
thought I was in the shower this morning going, what am I going to say if he asked that?
All right. All right. So last couple of things. Now we'll come back in a minute and ask what was the craziest thing
yeah.
that you saw at
Oh
Roo.
God, I need to think
Yeah.
about this.
But Charlie, you want to ask the second to last one?
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I go ahead.
I didn't read it.
Oh, all right. We're going to bring it back around and bring it kind of back to totem with what we're doing. What are the traditions that you personally want to make sure are passed to the next generation of Ruvians?
I got this one, Cory. I'll take it first.
Okay, I've got one too. Go ahead.
For me, this is my personal answer. This is not me speaking as a employee of the festival or anything. I'm going to give you like my real honest raw answer. The thing that attracted me to Bonnaroo, which in today's world is even more important, is that it is a protected place to unapologetically be yourself.
Yep.
In a world where those things may not be allowed in certain instances or certain places or where you live, or you might not even feel comfortable being that around your family or when you're at home. And Bonnaroo is the one single place where you can do that and not have to worry or be questioned or anything. And I think we work really hard to ensure that the farm maintains that sense. And if there's anything that I would want to carry on, it is just that. It is the stripping of the labels and showing up for 5 days. And if you're a doctor or if you work at a Dollar General or if you're a mechanic or whatever, like all of that's gone. What your family life is like at home, what you're dealing with at work, what everything is gone. And for those 4 days, you just get to be. And
Dude, do you know how good it feels that the guy that runs the place gets it?
Man, if I didn't get that, I'd quit my job, man. Honestly.
That was such a perfect answer.
Yeah.
I don't think it could have been any better.
That's the most important thing to Bonnaroo about me, because at one point it was that for me, and that's what inspired me to do the work I do. And so I gotta make sure it does that for other people. I don't have another option. Like it has to be.
Cory, I don't know if you can top that.
No, dude, I don't think I
Just
heard
drop
the
the mic.
question.
Yeah.
I don't think I heard the question in the same way that Brad did. um, I was just thinking about like traditions and things that I remember from my early days going to Bonnaroo, and I wanted to issue a challenge. And this is a lot more lighthearted than what Brad was saying. I very much agree with everything you said, Brad. But my first few years, there was something that I would refer to as the Bonnaroo roar. And it was basically one person would yell Bonnaroo as loud as they could, and every person that heard that would do the same, and you could hear it for a mile.
It still happens. Yeah.
Doesn't happen as much as it used to, and it doesn't happen to the same degree that it used to. And I want people to show up this year, and I want it to be the loudest.
Primal
We're
scream.
gonna see what we
Primal
can do.
scream in the campgrounds.
I want people to damn get after it.
Oh, this reminds me. There was one other question that somebody wanted to pass along to you. One of pretty much everybody's favorite traditions is High Five Friday. Like, Cory, you put it in the marketing. We all do it. It's one of our favorite days because of that. Last year, there was the snake line that went through the arch. What's up, dude?
Yeah, was that you, Brad? Was that your idea?
No, and I'll save the person who it was. So
I know who it
he
was.
shall not be mentioned. That was another thing too that we made a decision that was going to help us operationally, and then didn't really realize the consequences of that. And so we're working through options that will help us and revive a tradition at the same time. I think that's my answer for now. That's my answer.
I knew that you would have seen the Reddit comments and be like, "Oh yeah, yeah."
Dude, I'm in Reddit more than I should be. To be honest with you.
Oh, Brad's in Reddit.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. A lot of
Now we
people
gotta bring it-
probably know me on Reddit. They just don't know me, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, he's in there.
I'm a ghost.
So we got to bring it around. What's the craziest shit you ever saw?
I've got a really good story,
Yeah, you go, Cory.
and I think I can tell this. I think I can tell this safe for work style. So we were. I'll make it PG-13. That's fine.
All right, yeah, that works.
So we were. I was really into Humphreys McGee in college. They're my favorite band, and in 2012 or 11, I think they played late night. And they were going to do the Sunrise. So we were psyched, man. And my friend Kevin, he played football at Tennessee Tech, and at that time the festival had a bunch of his teammates would be working security. So we got in the habit of, and this is disgusting, we would fill up like giant Powerade bottles full of bourbon, and he would just be able to bring him in because his buddies were and so
Cory's like,
so
do as I say, not as I do.
yeah, I mean,
I've done
so, so we were heading through the arch, and he brought his bottle in, and we're poor college kids, so we were gonna sip on that all night and have a good time at Humphreys, and it was our show of the weekend, and we get up there and none of his buddies are working. So we just start we like went back through the arch and we started recruiting people to help us drink it. And so we just filled the bottle, made a ton of friends, and we took that crew inside and we hung out with those people all night long and had an absolute blast. And Humphreys played, and then Big Gigantic came out and did a tweener set, and then Humphreys played. And I just remember they were playing Thunderstruck as the sun came up.
I've seen a video of that. It was amazing.
And it was just an absolutely epic Bonnaroo moment where you meet so many new people that you've never met before, and it's not something that would ever happen in real life. And then, in this instance, as it goes, sometimes I never saw any of those people again. But we were best friends that night, and it was awesome.
Okay, Brad, I think
that's a pretty classic Bonnaroo moment, I think.
Brad, I think Cory may top you on this one.
No, he will, because mine's really dumb and you guys might not even think it's funny. But when people ask me about like the weirdest interaction or funniest interaction I've ever had at Bonnaroo, this is the only thing that can come to mind. And I'm not going to say who this was, but I'll just tell the story. It's really short. In 2018, I was finally starting to like figure it out, like working, in my job. Like I really felt like I was like, okay, I'm doing something now. And so I'm backstage and I'm walking somewhere and I go to cut through the artist compound. And this artist, who beloved by many, she walks up to me and I'm really nervous because I'm a fan of this artist and I'm just like, I don't know what she's about to say and I'm probably gonna just embarrass myself. And before I can say anything, I guess she saw I had a radio on. I looked like I knew I could answer a question. And she just goes, "Hey, do you know where I can take a shit around here?" And that was all that came out of this woman's mouth, and one of my favorite humans. And I'm just sitting there going, there's no way this is real. Like, am I on punked? Like, is someone gonna pop out with a camera? Like, what is going on here? But genuinely just wanted to know the answer to the question, and I told her. That was the end of the interaction. But that is like stuck in my brain. It was in 2018. It's stuck in my brain for forever. So I love the fact that now that I've told that, the people listening to this are going to go look at the 2018 lineup and they're going to be like, oh, I bet I know who it was. Who on here would probably be wanting to go take a shit? Like, which one of these people would need to be taking a shit?
I do your homework.
I don't know. That's my story. It's really stupid, but I enjoy it.
So without getting into the details, I'll tell you the craziest night, the most fun night I ever had at Roo was the Friday night of 16, because we had like just a triple header, M83, LCD, and then Tame. But the next night is the wildest I've ever seen at Roo, because that storm rolled through and everybody had to leave and then come back in for Pearl Jam. And I'm going to just say this without you guys like freaking out. There were no rules that night.
Oh no.
It was total anarchy in all the best and most safe ways, I promise. But everything got thrown out the window that night. But guys, listen, thank you so much for spending a little over an hour with us.
Yeah, thank you.
There was a lot that you talked about that kind of filled in a lot of gaps for us that we've always wondered about. And listen, I just have to reiterate, like, not just on our behalf, but like on the behalf of so many groups, like, the Parachute People, Red Roo, Squeak Squad, Trying to Go to Bed. I mean, that's also the Parachute People, but many others that I'm not even thinking about right now. You do so much to put this party on for us, but also support this community that we all have. Like, a lot of us see each other throughout the year, but we have the big party in June. And it means a lot that y'all trust us to contribute to it. And you support us, hell, you even put us on the schedule these days. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. So it is very, very much appreciated. And I wish there was something else that we could do to show you that wasn't just buying tickets every year.
No, dude. Thank you guys for everything you do, man. The enthusiasm that we get from y'all and your close circle is literally unmatched. And the kindness that you guys show people coming for the first time or second time, it's just so impressive, and it's really nice to see, and we really appreciate it.
The thing
it means a lot that you guys will hear us out and understand us, because I know it's hard to, some of the decisions we have to make, it's really hard. We don't get the chance to explain ourselves, right? And it feels nice that you all are willing to at least, even if you don't agree, to at least hear us out and also to be a voice for us. And it's super important. Yeah. And I hope that you guys feel it. I mean, it sounds like the sentiment is shared, but I think it's important for Cory and I that, we want to feel accessible too, like from the fan. We want you to know that we do want to hear what your concerns are, what your ideas are, because we have the ability to act on them. So let's just keep it going, man. It's a fun time, and I cannot wait till June. It's gonna be fun. Lots of surprises, and it's gonna be a great time.
Well, listen,
you guys, to y'all's listeners, and to your guys's friends and crew, and everybody out there that might hear this, like, we read every single comment. We pour over the survey information every year. We're compiling artist requests from the survey, our socials, third-party socials like Festival and basically anywhere you see people commenting about Bonnaroo. Like, we want to hear it. This is not a music festival. This is a community. It always will be, and we're always here to listen and react and continue to make it better, man. So
it is noticed and loved, dude. I'm not exaggerating. I'll say it again. It is the greatest party on planet Earth. Nothing comes close. The actual festival is awesome, but it's like everything that orbits that means the world to us, and it orbits what you guys work on day to day. So your work is more appreciated than you'll ever know.
Thanks, man. This has been fun. We should do this more often.
yeah.
No, well, what we should do is get you guys to come hang out at the Monkey Bar next to the bus and come smash.
Oh, I hung out at the Monkey Bar last year.
I'm in. Count
We're
me
gonna
in.
see if we're gonna make some calls and see if we can get Post Malone to come hang out with us. He's the guy that needs to come hang
You
out.
never know, man. Get the pong table out. You never know.
Yeah.
I could see him throwing pong at the Monkey Bar, man.
All right, thank you so much, guys. We love you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
See
y'all.
you, Charles. Have a good one, y'all.
All right. Thank you so much, Brad and Cory. That was awesome.
They're genuinely fun to hang out with. I wasn't kidding them. I want them to come to the Monkey Bar to just like hang and not have to worry about, business or whatever.
Right. That'd be cool.
Do you think we can really get Posty to come do like beer pong?
Oh, I hope Posty
That
goes
would
to the
be
Monkey
amazing.
Bar. That'd be so much fun.
Have you seen that video of him like doing beer pong with Randy Travis? He was overjoyed to meet.
Someone wheels Randy Travis in there.
Yeah. Post Malone, he is just like overjoyed in any situation. Did you see that video that Cory shared of like him singing along with Group Love?
Yes.
On the
I've
Bonnaroo
seen-
account?
Yes. Yes.
Like, I mean, I love him. He's not my favorite artist, but like, I just love him personally. He's just always so happy to be there, no matter what it is.
You're in love with Post Malone?
I guess so. Yeah, I just want to hang with him.
Okay,
Like,
Daniel. Let's get into thanking our Patreon.
oh, yes. So I'll set you up. So you know the deal by now. This is at patreon.com/Roobus. 100% is fueling our new Totem nonprofit. And by the way, check the socials for Totem. We're doing an event in New York.
Yes,
next
we are.
month.
You want to tell them about it, Daniel?
Oh, yeah. So our good friend Evan, who lives in the area, is working with us to set us up at a restaurant. I believe Skylar is going to be there as well. I'm trying to twist Brad Steiner, formerly of the What Podcast, to be there. I think Kara Yates, who is doing the new FemFlock podcast, is hopefully going to come out. So a lot of New York City friends I hope to see there. I'm going to be in town for work, so we're going to do that while I'm there and just do kind of like a Roo hangout and do our elevator pitch for Totem.
And if you don't know about Totem, Totem stands for the Opportunity to Experience Music. It is a nonprofit organization, and it helps send underserved individuals to attend music festivals, as well as a mentorship program for rookies that attend music festivals.
Yeah, you'll hear plenty about it from us, but check it out at totemfnd.org. But Charlotte, why don't we list everybody that's supporting us?
Okay, Andrea, JB, Sam, Austin, Madeline, James, Chelsea, aka Hygiene Queen, Ryan, Chris, Skylar, Dan, Ernst, Bill, Harris, Keith, Casey, Chloe, Dave, Amanda, Aaron, Nick, Maddie, McBurg, Kent, Randy, Greg, Eric and Ben, Evan, Jay, Chloe, and Sean.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yes, thank you.
Again, you can find that at patreon.com/Roobus, and you can learn more about Totem at totemfnd.org. So that's pretty much all that you're going to hear from us this week. We didn't want to go on too much. We just wanted to give the mic to Cory and Brad as much as we could. Thanks again to them for taking the time with us. They're putting on the best party, but also they're just really fun to hang with. I just love joking and messing around with them.
Yes,
So
it was awesome.
hopefully they can get away from work and come visit us at the bus and at the Monkey Bar this June.
I hope so.
But again, thank you so much, guys. And for the rest of you, it'll probably be a week and a half before we do another episode. We've been at it hard with this, and I'm about to be traveling for work. So probably see you the week after next. I think we're going to do our annual FAQ episode, right?
Yes.
So look out for that on the subreddit, I believe. Maybe?
Maybe.
We'll figure that out.
Figure it out.
You'll
figure it
hear
out.
from
But
us.
We do have a couple of really cool guests lined up for you.
Yes, tell you about that soon. But hey, you know what? Keep finding new stuff on that lineup, and also get out there and radiate positivity.
Bye.
See you later.